Hello everyone and welcome back to Educate Call Snap channel. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? So today we're going to be talking about an updated list of a deck that I've showcased before, the aggressive Sandman deck. So this was a deck I really liked a couple months ago, maybe like 2 months ago, where I really liked the early game engine and then locking people down with the Sandman, and then having a ton of cool, powerful tools at the end games to really win out those matches. Unfortunately, very soon after I released that deck, Sandman got changed from a 4-cost to a 5-cost unit, which kind of removed the ability to efficiently play the Sandman and have that impact in the game. So we kind of fell away from that for a couple whiles, but I do think now with the addition of Hid Monkey and a lot of people playing Bounce, a lot of people playing just flood, turn 6 flood decks, Sandman once again has its time to shine. So nice thing with the Sandman change was that Electro was now able to be added into the list. So with that in mind, I went back to the list, revamped it a little bit, and let's talk about the updated version. So here you can see the list, right? The early game has not changed at all. We have not touched the early game whatsoever. If I do the editing, you're gonna see the old version right now. Anyways, but yeah, you could see that the early version is practically the same. The only difference now is that we have an extra 3-drop with Maximus. We're cutting out the Shang-Chi, and we're also cutting out the Magneto. So the reason why we're cutting out the Shang-Chi is just that there's not a lot of room. I guess like that was really the issue with this deck. I don't have as much room as I had before, and I wanted to just take advantage of that Electro power. So even though the other game's the same, Electro is such a big changer in how you pilot this deck. Playing Electro on 3 is very viable, and it allows you to do something like Electro into Sandman, into a 6, into another 6. So before we were really limited to how we wanted the 6-drops to be, Dr. Doom and Magneto. With this Electro synergy, we can now do the old school Electro Dr. Doom Odin play, which is just a ton of power, a ton of flexibility, and especially when you combine it with Sandman and the other anti-meta tool that we're adding, Leech. I know Leech is not a fun card to play, but it does work well against a lot of the archetypes that are being played right now, so I still think it makes sense. But when you combine that, you can really just have a lot of freedom and power, supplemented by that early game that is so reliable, being able to get 10 power very quickly. We've been playing it today. It has felt really good. It has felt still very viable. If you know Electro Ramp, you should feel the skeletons of Electro Ramp. You should know like when it goes off, how good it can be. But I really do like adding this aggressive engine in the front, so that even if things aren't like that, the draws aren't that strong for you, you still have something to work with, something to fight. And even though we do have a lot of early game, once you're playing the Electro, usually you should have already played out your early drops, so you're not going to be feeling that burden of having these 1-cost cards in your hand. You just want to play your early game while you have it, and then once you get into the late game, you can start playing down your Captain Marvel, your Doctor Doom. Now let's talk about some of the synergies that you may have forgotten and some of the rationales for each of this deck list, right? So Zero is a core piece, and just with talk about Zero, I also want to talk about Invisible Woman, because that's going to be a question that I'm probably going to get in chat, like, oh, why is this Invisible Woman here? I want you to think about it as another Zero. So because the cards are not revealed until the game ends, it allows you to kind of ignore a lot of the drawbacks of a lot of these punishable cards. So Titania, right? With Zero, it's fine. With Mrs. Negative, or Invisible Woman, sorry, it's Mrs. Negative. Where did that come from? With Invisible Woman, as long as you don't follow up on playing extra stuff into that same Invisible Woman lane, which is very easy to do to still contest because you have the Marvel, because you have the Doom, because you have the Odin. You can still contest that lane, but as long as you don't do that, it's not going to jump to the opponent's side at the end of the game. So that's another very cool tool. With Ebony Maw, once again, right, this is a problematic card to usually play with. With Zero, it's fine. With Invisible Woman, it's also fine. It means it's only going to reveal at the end of the game, which is not a problem for you at all. So that's another perfect combination. Lizard is just a very powerful 2-drop. The downside isn't really that meaningful when you have Sandman in the game. It's just so hard to really fill that location. So it's a pretty powerful, safe 2 for 5. And then as well, you have the Maximus, which is an alternative 3-drop if you don't draw your Electro. 0 into Maximus is fine, and then Invisible Woman into Maximus is also perfectly fine. You do have to be a little bit concerned against Dino decks, right? They're not going to care. That's the end of the game. They're still going to take advantage of that extra power. But most decks, it's not a big deal that you're giving them draw at the end of the game. So there's definitely some of the synergies with Zero and Invisible Woman. They do the same thing. Now, when we talk about Invisible Woman, there's an extra synergy there that you have to think about, the Captain Marvel. So this is a card you can put into the Invisible Woman and really surprise people when it comes out at the end of the game. They're not going to, well, you know, unless this deck is popular, you know, so if it is, then boo-hoo. But if they don't know what's going on, they're not going to be expecting this Captain Marvel out of the Invisible Woman, and that can really surprise them, get a couple of cubes that way. So that's a nice little synergy that you have built in there that's really hard to know it's coming unless you're very familiar with this type of deck list. And then next thing we're going to talk about is the Electro, right? This is the major change from the old aggressive Sandman list, where now we have this Electro in play to play the Sandman on 4, which is what we used to do before without the Electro. Now we can still play the Electro on 4 and still have that impact that you want. But being able to play Electro lets you also play the Leech. Now, Leech is just an annoying card and we don't want to talk about it and it sucks, so but let's move on. But like theoretically, it does shut down a lot of decks and it does ruin their game plan, so you can definitely mess people up. It's definitely a strong card and you want to take advantage of that, especially if you want to climb. So it is in there. Now I think a lot of people are going to ask what is the decision between Leech and Sandman. If you have both in your hand, what do you play? First of all, it's fairly rare you're going to have both in your hand, but it does happen. And unfortunately, the answer is it depends on the matchup. It's not a, oh, you always play Sandman here, or oh, you always play Leech here. It does depend on the matchup. So if you need that 2 points, right? Leech is only 3 points. So if you don't think the Sandman is going to matter too much, well, you might just go for the Leech is going to matter too much. You might just go for the Sandman. Also, if you haven't played Electro, right, there might be some windows where you just Leech and then you can play your Titania, your Zero Titania into the late game. That might be something to think about. That's not going to happen too often, but it is something there. But overall, I haven't really had oh, I'm going to play Leech or oh, I'm going to play a Sandman. It usually just depends on what the matchups is. Anytime they're flooding, right, you can definitely just mess with the Sandman, but usually the flood decks also get messed up with Leech. So as long as you play one of them, you're probably going to do fine. So you just have to be aware of like, what do I need, when do I need it, what makes the most sense. Next up, we have the Captain Marvel. We have talked about it a little bit, but we haven't really dived deep why it's I would say better than the Vision, which is another like common thing you can play here. I just like in this particular deck the ability to hide with Sandman, with Invisible Woman, and also the fact that you don't have to worry about where the Vision goes, right? You can play, I mean, where the Marvel goes. You can play the Marvel in the Sandman lane. It's not a problem. You can play away. It's not a problem. You can play it randomly. And there are some locations that do better with Marvel than Vision, but generally they're mostly the same card, and usually they're a lot of times they'll have the same effect, except Vision has that extra power. But with the ability of spreading out, with the Sandman lockdown, as long as you have something to play, the Captain Marvel will just win you the other lanes for you. So it's definitely a very safe play, very strong play. We definitely like playing it here. Then Dr. Doom. This is one of my favorite cards. And here I'm going to show you the clip of me freaking opening up another split with no ink, man. I'm trying so hard for ink. Why can't I get ink split? All right. I'm anxious. Let's just do it. Rip off the band-aid. Oh my god. It's definitely an amazing card, very strong, fights every lane, and has a lot of good synergies in the game, which lets us play the Odin with the Electro. This is such a powerful combo. You go Doctor Doom into Odin, you spread out, you flood the board. It's really, really good. It's definitely one of your major win cons. If you aren't drawing your early game pressure or you aren't drawing your Doctor Doom, you're definitely going to feel less good about this deck. But if you do get the Doom, you do get your early game. This is a really powerful deck that feels really good to play. So how you want to pilot, I have a couple example games that we got on the stream, so we'll try to show that. But you definitely want to play your early game. You want to try to contest the lanes that you can, and then you either want to hit Electro into something, into Doom Odin, or you want to go like Maximus and then drop your Marvel and then, you know, finally end on a Doom or Odin if you just need the tempo. So it's really just about controlling your opponent a little bit, but just having large points in every lane. Another nice thing about this deck is that you can't be Shang-Chi, and Shang-Chi is so common right now. Like, everyone's playing Shang-Chi, so you don't have that Shang-Chi problem. I would say the biggest weakness of this particular deck list is just you could be thrown off by Killmonger, so that's the one thing you can watch out for. There is a way to play around Killmonger because your Invisible Woman only reveals at the end of the game. If you put your 1-drops like Ebony Maw, Titania into your Invisible Woman, they're not going to get revealed and they're not going to get Killmonger. So you do have some type of counterplay into that matchup if you know they're guaranteed running a Killmonger. There are things you can do, but that is like one of the easiest ways to fall out of it. And then of course you also don't have gigantic swings in one lane in a turn. So you can't say, oh, I'm going to put 20 points in one lane. You could do that with Marvel Synergy, like Captain Marvel Synergy at the end of the game to give you that extra boost. But it's really hard to say, oh, I'm losing by 15 points. I'm going to win it next turn. That's not really happening. So if they beat you really hard in one lane, that could spell trouble because it means that you're very limited in how you're going to allocate those points and catch people off guard. You're pretty much always fighting all 3 lanes every game, and that can be good, that can be bad if things aren't working out for your favor. So those would be some of the concerns I would have with this. But just like the previous aggressive Sandman list, I think it's good. I think it has a lot of ways to work into a lot of good matchups. So definitely have a couple games at the end. Hope you guys enjoyed this. A look back into one of my favorite decks in the past couple seasons. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm definitely waiting until next week, until the patch next week, to really see if that will fix the matchmaking, right? Because they've been saying, okay, this is a player. They've been saying that they're wanting to fix it, right? So we're just kind of hoping they do that. Alright, hopefully Sandman can do a lot here. Damn, no 2 is pretty bad. You hoping they fix Lockjaw Visual Book? Yeah, that would be nice. There's a lot of things they could fix for sure. I think we'll go here. So we'll see. Cable is okay. Rescue is really good though. We can drop this and snap, I would say. I wonder if Sandman should be better than Marvel here. We'll see if he leaves. There's a good chance he leaves. Yeah. Yeah. I think that makes sense. We should also play Titania middle. Right? Because we go Lizard Titania here. We set up the Sandman. He can't play Morag. He's also playing a bounce deck, which likes to pop off last turn. And we can Doctor Doom. So this was a pretty clear win, as I would say. We just had to wait for X Mansion. Because that always can like change the game completely. So you never really want to. If you know it's coming, you never want to snap. You've been using Doc Ock and Move, and it's working out really well. Yeah, I have a Move guide, and one of the decks I do recommend using it because you just play Doc Ock and then you Heimdall and move it to the left, so it doesn't really bother you, essentially. That oh, he runs Killmonger. Okay, that's good to know. Mindscape's bad for us as well. Oh, he changed his deck. So this is probably like a Dino deck with Killmonger, so like destroy Dino. Something like that. We can go like this. Unless I want to go like this. I think I actually do want to go like this. It should win us this lane. He's running Wolfsbane. Okay, I was not expecting that. Damn, giving him a Doctor Doom is pretty bad. I don't like our scenario. I guess I should have went Invisible Woman middle. If I went Invisible Woman middle, I could go Maxos left. And then, well, I guess I could go Electro into the Dome. But now I'm giving him a Dome, which is pretty bad. No, he's playing a Hit Monkey. Wait, he was playing Hit Monkey the whole time. Damn, I don't want to give, I mean, I guess I just do this. And then I could probably snap, but he could also probably pop. I think we have it. I'm not gonna snap though, but I can see the win. I can also see the lose, but okay. The Sarah is weird into Mindscape. I think he's just playing it out. Yeah, this card is just better. But we'll get the tie. Unless he calls my bluff. I guess I could go Mysterio, but damn, the Sandman was bad. Okay, I trolled. But I couldn't play Electro either. I will say. This is like way better if you went all of this here. I guess we go middle. We should be fine. I think we should be fine. Yeah. Cause I mean, of course he leaves. He has to play Doom. There's no other play he can make. By me trolling, I didn't mean I lost. I meant like I would have rather had a different card to play. That's what I mean by trolling. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. This count as a game. This is a player. Like, the one time we get a player, we're getting a ego battle. Classic ego battle. YouTube frog here. YouTube frog here. YouTube frog. I don't know what. Okay, cool. Okay, whatever. Let's ignore it. Hello. Thanks for using the guide. Congrats on 85. He really hit Professor. That's so troll. You're really. Come on, play any of the other cards. Play any of the other cards. Annoying. Which guy? That's I mean, I have a Galactus guy. I also have probably the Galactus guy, right? Obviously. Come on, not like this. Play anything else? Well, actually, don't play Leech, but. This could have been way better. Okay, he got too scared. All right, you win the fear battle. I mean, he is losing really hard here, and I guess the opponent. I mean, he must have played left, right? Because if he played right, maybe he goes for the flip, but he probably played left. Once you watch him, you won't go back. He'll teach you tomorrow, snap. Your skill